So we've moved away a little bit from programming in the last couple of sections of the course, looking at Bootstrap and WordPress, which are really useful tools for web developers of all types. But now we're going to very much go back and start coding once again. And in this section, we're going to be looking at a language called PHP. Before I tell you specifically what PHP is, I want to give you a quick summary of how the various languages that you have learned and are going to learn in this course fit together. So this is how a basic website works. We've got the web browser here, which works on a computer's machine. And all the languages that we've learned so far work within the web browser. So HTML is processed by the web browser, as is CSS for styling, and JavaScript and jQuery both run within the browser as well. So those are great languages, but there's a number of things that we can't do in the browser. We can't store users' information permanently on the browser because the browser gets closed down. And we want a way to store that data somewhere centrally so that the user can access it anywhere on the web. So the web browser, of course, connects to the internet, and the internet gets all its information for a particular website from a web server. So you can think of this essentially as a computer or part of a big gigantic computer that is sitting in a server farm somewhere, and every time your website gets requested, essentially what happens is the server does something to generate the HTML, CSS and JavaScript, and then sends that to the user's browser where those three get processed. So there are languages that work on the web server and allow us to do web server specific things, like logging a user in or returning their tweets or saving their progress in a game. And by far the most popular language on the web today is PHP. So that's why we're starting with that one. PHP actually powers over 80% of the web at the time of making this course. And although it's not the most popular or fashionable language to learn, it is a really useful one. And I still recommend it as the first server-side language that a web developer should learn. It's also the language that WordPress is built in. Learning PHP will enable you to create WordPress plugins, customize WordPress themes, and essentially do whatever you want within WordPress. PHP is also associated strongly with the MySQL database type, which again is the most popular database type on the web, and that's what we're going to be seeing how to work with in the next section. So a very quick introduction to PHP then. We're going to be working with the latest version of PHP, which is actually PHP 7. And as you can see from this introduction on W3 Schools, PHP stands for PHP Hypertext Preprocessor. Essentially, that means we're processing the hypertext or the HTML before providing that to the user's browser. It's completely free and open source. And a PHP file that we'll see in the next video has the .php extension, and it can contain PHP, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So we can use all four languages together in the one file type. If you want to learn a bit more about PHP, then feel free to just go to this page on W3 Schools or Google PHP introduction, something like that. The last thing I just want to show you is historically, PHP is a pretty old language. It was developed in 1994, and that's another reason to learn it first, because there's a huge amount of help for PHP online, and anything that you will want to do, someone will have asked how to do it before, usually on Stack Overflow, and the answers will be right there in Google for you. So I hope that's reason enough for you to learn PHP. In the next video, we'll go on to create our first Hello World page in PHP.